Good morning children. How are you all? Hope you all are doing good. So in the last class we have started a new lesson. It is the northern mountains. Is it? So we have learned about the Himalayas. So about the mountain ranges. Is it? Now we will move on to. So we have already learned about the three parallel ranges of Himalayas. Is it? We have learned about the three parallel ranges of Himalayas. So which were they? The first one was Himadri or Great Himalaya. The second one was Himachal or Middle Himalaya. And the third one is Shivalik or Outer Himalaya. So we had already learned about this Himadri. So Himadri is the longest and which dominates the high region of the Himalaya, is it? So it extends. So the length of the Himadri is 2,500 kilometer and the width is about 150 and 400 kilometer, is it? So most of the mountains peaks are covered with snow throughout the year. So it is at the northern tip, is it? So this Himadri is at the north part and it is the dominant, it is the first one, is it? Largest and continuous mountain range and its total length is 2,500 kilometer and it is the wide up to 150 and 400 kilometer wide, and it forms a natural boundary. This Himadri or Great Himalaya forms a natural boundary between China and India. Okay, so the most of the peaks in this range is always covered with snow throughout the year. Okay, it is always covered with snow throughout the year, and these regions are very cold here. Okay, so Himalaya is always covered. Most of the peaks are always covered with snow throughout the year. So here it is difficult for the people and animals to live in this region. And some of the trees grown in this type of region, it is fir, spruce, and some of the wildflower are grown in the lower region of Himalaya. Okay, and it is difficult for the people and animals to live in this region as it is always covered with snow here. The glaciers melts. Okay, the glaciers keeps rolling down. Okay, and when they reaches the warmer place, these glaciers melts and create rivers. So some of the rivers which originates from Himadri are Ganga, Yamuna, Brahmaputra, Indus, Satluj. So these are some of the rivers which originates from Himadri. Okay, Ganga starts from the glacier Gangotri. Okay, so this was about Himadri or Great Himalaya. Next we move on to Himachal. Himachal or Middle Himalaya. So Himachal or Middle Himalaya, it is between this Himadri and Shivalik. So this is the middle one, is it? So this Himachal is between Himadri and Shivalik. So it is Middle Himalaya. So this Himachal region is located between Himadri and Shivalik. Himachal mountain range is located between Himadri and Shivalik. Okay. It extends from the east to the west. Okay, so this extends from the east to the west, and the altitude are 3,700 meter. 3,700 meter and width is about 80 kilometer. Okay, 80 kilometer. The mountains are not high as in the Himadri. So in Himadri the mountains are very high, but the mountains are not as high as in Himadri. It is little bit shorter. Okay, in Himachal the mountains are not as high as the peaks in the Himalaya. or Middle Himalaya. So these mountains has beautiful valleys here. So which are the valleys? Some of the valleys are Chamba Valley, Kashmir Valley, Kulu Valley and Kangra Valley. Some of the beautiful valleys in this mountains. Okay, these mountains have beautiful valleys in Himachal range. So which are the valleys? Chamba Valley, Kashmir Valley, Kulu Valley and Kangra Valley are some of the beautiful valleys in these mountains. Okay, and some important hill station in these ranges. Okay, we have some of the important hill stations also. Hill stations are some of the towns in these towns or cities in the higher altitude. So those are called as hill stations. So some of the important hill stations of these ranges are Shimla, which is in Himachal Pradesh. So Shimla is a hill station in Himachal Pradesh. Mussoorie and Nainital. Mussoorie and Nainital are in Uttarakhand. Darjeeling in West Bengal. So these are some of the important hill stations. Okay, so these are the important hill stations located in this range. Which range? Himachal range. Okay, so this Himachal range has some beautiful valleys also. The mountains has some beautiful valleys like Chamba Valley, Kashmir Valley, Kulu Valley and Kangra Valley. Okay, so these are some of the beautiful valleys which the mountains have, and these, okay, so this range has some important hill stations also. It is Shimla in Himachal Pradesh, Mussoorie and Nainital in Uttarakhand, Darjeeling in West Bengal. So these are some of the hill stations of this range. Okay, so people go to these hill stations because here the winter is very cold. During the winter season, these hill stations, okay, these places are very cold, but in summer the climate is very cool and pleasant here. Okay, so during summer the climate is very cool and pleasant, and many people visit these hill stations during the summer season. Okay, during summer these hill stations, so these places are very cool and pleasant. So many people, so these are the many places visit here. Okay, these are the tourist places. Many people visit these places during summer to enjoy the cool and pleasant weather there. Okay, so and the climate in this region is also good. Okay, it is also good for the growth of fruits. Okay, so this climate, as this climate is very cool and pleasant, the climate is good for the growth. Okay, it is ideal for the growth of fruits like apples, cherries, pears, plums, apricots and peaches. So these are the fruits which are grown in these areas because the climate is very cool and pleasant. So it is good for the growth. Okay, so the climate is very ideal for the growth of fruits like apples, cherries, pears, plums, apricots and peaches. Okay, so the main crops are rice. Okay, the main crops are rice, maize and barley. Potatoes also widely grown here. The main crop is rice, maize and barley. Potato is also widely grown here. Okay, so the farmers cut flat steps in mountains. Okay, so it is the mountain. The farmers cut flat steps in the mountains, in mountain slopes to grow crops. Okay, so the farmers cut flat steps. Okay, flat steps in mountain slopes to grow crops. This is known as terrace or step farming. Okay, so this type of farming is called as terrace or step farming. The mountains are cut Okay, and here the farmers cut the mountains, okay, cut the flat steps in mountains, okay, mountains to grow crops, and this type of plantation, this type of farming is called as status of step farming. And the main crop is the rice, maize, barley are the main crops grown here. Potato is also widely grown here. Okay, and you can find tea plantations more in east. So in this mountain range we can find the forest also, some of the forests. And some of the trees in these forests are pine, oak, deodar and fir trees. Okay, so but now the beauty of the forest, okay, the beauty of this area has been lost because of the deforestation. Okay, so the beauty of this area has been lost because of the deforestation. Okay, cutting down the trees. So this was about the Himachal or Middle Himalaya. So now we will move on to Shivalik or Outer Himalaya. Okay. Okay, so the next parallel range is the Shivalik or Outer Himalaya. The third parallel range, okay. The third one is Shivalik or Outer Himalaya. Shivalik is a Sanskrit word which means belonging to Lord Shiva. Okay, so it is a Sanskrit word which means belonging to Lord Shiva. So Shivaliks are the lowest and narrowest range of the Himalayan range. Okay, so it is the lowest and the narrowest range of the Himalayan range and have the average height of about 900 to 1200 meter. Okay, they have the average height of about 900 to 1200 meter and the width is only 16 kilometer. Okay, the average height is 900 to 1200 and the width is only for about 16 kilometer. Okay, the slopes of these mountain peaks are covered with thick forest. Okay, the slopes are covered with thick forest which are home to variety of wild animals. The slopes of these mountains are covered with thick forest. We have very thick forest in these mountains and it is the home for variety of wild animals. Okay, and much of the land are used for growing crops like rice, maize and potatoes. So much of the areas of these mountains are used for growing crops like rice, maize and potato. The area at the foothills of Shivalik, for example, if this is Shivalik, the area at the foothills of Shivalik are called, okay, Terai region. Okay, so the area at the foothills of Shivalik, is called Terai region. It receives heavy rainfall and the land is very fertile. Okay, the area at the foothills of Shivalik is called Terai region and this region receives heavy rainfall and it receives heavy rainfall and the land is very fertile here, so they can grow the crops. Okay, the land is very fertile. Deforestation in the Shivalik range and the Terai area for wood and farmland has destroyed many of the forests here. Okay, as the mountains of these Shivalik has a very thick forest and these forests are the home for variety of wild animals also. So now the deforestation, okay, for the purpose of wood and for farmland has destroyed the beauty of this region. So for this purpose, the government has made several protected forests. Okay, the government has set up several protected forests such as Corbett National Park and Kaziranga National Park to stop deforestation and protect animals. Okay, so here I'll repeat once again. Shivalik or outer range. The third panel range of Himalayas is Shivalik or outer Himalaya. So this Shivalik in Sanskrit word, it means belonging to Lord Shiva. Okay, the Sanskrit word Shivalik means it is belonging to Lord Shiva. And this Shivalik are the lowest and narrowest range of Himalaya. Okay, so this is the lowest and narrowest range of Himalaya, and the altitude, okay, so the average height of it is about 900 to 1200 meter, and the width is only for about 16 kilometers. Okay, it is about 16 kilometers, and the slopes are covered with thick forest. Okay, the slopes of this Shivaliks are covered with thick forest, and this is the home for variety of animals, and these areas are good for growing crops. Okay, the areas are good for, much of the land is good for growing crops. The rice, maize and potatoes are grown widely here. So the foothills of Shivalik range is called Terai region. Okay, the foothills of Shivalik range is called Terai region, and this region receives heavy rainfall. Okay, and the land is very fertile here. Okay, so now the deforestation for the purpose of wood and for farmland has spoiled the beauty of this range. Okay, for this purpose, the government to protect these regions, okay, these forests, the government has protected. The government has set up several protected forests such as Corbett National Park, Kaziranga National Park, to protect the forest and to protect wild animals. Okay, so this was about Shivalik or outer Himalayas. So next we'll go on to the mountain passes. Okay, mountain passes. So what do you mean by this mountain pass? It is a narrow passage which allows you to move from one side of the mountain to the another side of the mountain. Okay, mountain pass. So mountain pass is nothing but it is a narrow passage which allows us to move from one side of the mountain to another side of the mountain. So it is not possible for all of us to climb the mountain and move to the other part of the mountain, is it? So there are mountain pass. Okay, these are narrow passage which allows us to move from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountain. So it is very difficult. Okay. However, there are narrow paths called passes which makes it possible to travel from one place to another. Many of them are natural. Okay, so many passes are natural. For centuries, they have served as a trade routes for people. Okay, so these passes have served as a trade routes for people from coming from other countries for trading in many countries in India. No, so these were the trade routes for centuries ago. These passes were the trade routes for the people. So some of the passes, important passes was the Karakoram Pass in Kashmir. Okay, the Karakoram Pass in Kashmir. Karakoram in Kashmir, and Shipkila and Nathula in Sikkim, and the Bondila in Arunachal Pradesh are some of the passes in Himalaya. Okay, so what is this La? La means pass. So we say this mountain pass. No, Bondila in Arunachal Pradesh. So these are some of the important mountain passes in the Himalaya. Okay, so this was about the mountain pass. The mountain pass is nothing but the narrow passage which allows us to move from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountains. For centuries ago, these passes were the trade routes for people. Some of the passes are natural. Okay, so some of the important mountain passes are Karakoram Pass in Kashmir, Shikila and Nathula in Sikkim, and Bondila in Arunachal Pradesh are some of the important mountain passes. Okay, so next we move to the importance of Himalaya. So why these Himalayas are important to us? So we look into that, why these Himalayas are important to us. India would have been, okay, for high mountain peaks and ranges act as a barrier. Okay, for example, here we have many mountains here, is it? So these high mountain peaks and ranges acts as a barrier to enemies. Barrier means, as I told you before, it's a wall or gate. So the enemies getting into our country. So these mountain peaks and barriers, it acts as a barriers to enemies. So this mountain peaks protects our country. Okay. India would have been a desert if there were no Himalayas. They check the monsoon wind and cause rain in the entire northern plains. Okay. So if there were no these Himalayas, India would have been desert. So what they will do? These mountain peaks protect the clouds, okay, the rain-bearing clouds. They stops the rain-bearing clouds, and what will happen? These rain-bearing clouds hits these peaks, and what happened? The rain will fall to the northern plains. So if these mountains would have not been there, all the rain-bearing clouds would have flew to the other parts of the country, is it? So these protects our country. Okay, so if these peaks would not have been there, it would have been a desert. Next, it also protects the rest of the country from icy cold winds from Central Asia. Thus, the Himalayas affect the climate of India in many ways. And this also protects the country. Okay, it protects the country from the cool winds which are blowing from the other countries. Okay, the cold winds which are blowing from the other countries, it protects here. Okay, if these Himalayas would not have been there, all these cool breeze will come to, it will flow to the our country. So even our India would have been very cold. Okay, so these peaks protects our country from the colder winds which are blown from the other part of the country. Okay, they provide us with wood, timber and medicinal goods and help in protecting wildlife. So we have many forests, many thick forests in some of the mountain ranges. See? So they provide us wood like timber and some medicinal products also, and they protect our wildlife. Several rivers originate in the Himalaya. As the glaciers, they rolls down to the warmer regions chapter. In the next class, we will